What if everything you thought you knew about managing high blood pressure was only half the story? What if the other half, the part that could genuinely change your numbers, protect your arteries, and reduce your dependence on medication, was sitting right there in your grocery store, available to anyone, costing almost nothing, and yet almost nobody talks about it in a way that actually makes sense? Today I am going to share with you 7 specific foods that have been studied extensively in cardiovascular research and shown to produce measurable, clinically significant reductions in blood pressure. Not vague suggestions. Not general healthy eating advice. 7 specific foods, the science behind why each one works, and exactly how to incorporate them into your life starting today. Stay with me through this entire video, because by the end, you are going to walk into your kitchen with a completely different understanding of the most powerful tools you already have access to. My name is William Hart, and I want to start with something that I think reframes this entire conversation in an important way. When most people think about managing high blood pressure, they think about 2 things: medication and reducing salt. And while both of those things matter, this narrow focus misses an enormous piece of the picture. The research on diet and blood pressure has advanced dramatically over the past 2 decades, and what it consistently shows is that certain foods do not just passively avoid raising blood pressure, they actively work to lower it through specific, well-understood biological mechanisms. They dilate blood vessels. They help kidneys excrete excess sodium. They reduce arterial inflammation. They improve the elasticity of artery walls. These are not minor, incidental effects. In some studies, the blood pressure reductions produced by specific dietary changes are comparable to the effects of first-line antihypertensive medications. I am not telling you to stop taking your medication. I am telling you that what you eat every day is either working with your cardiovascular system or against it, and most people have no idea how powerful the right foods can be. The first food is beets, and specifically, fresh beet juice or cooked beets consumed regularly. Beets are one of the most studied foods in cardiovascular nutrition, and the results are consistently remarkable. Beets are extraordinarily rich in dietary nitrates. When you consume these nitrates, your body converts them into nitric oxide, a molecule that causes the smooth muscle cells in your blood vessel walls to relax and dilate. When your blood vessels dilate, they offer less resistance to blood flow, and less resistance means lower blood pressure. This is the same fundamental mechanism that some blood pressure medications use, except here it is happening through a natural dietary compound with no pharmaceutical side effects. Research has shown that consuming beet juice can produce meaningful reductions in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure within just a few hours of consumption, with regular consumption producing sustained reductions over time. One study found that drinking approximately 1 cup of beet juice daily lowered systolic blood pressure by an average of nearly 5 points, which in cardiovascular terms is clinically significant. If you have never considered beets as a cardiovascular food, it is time to reconsider. Add them to salads, roast them as a side dish, or drink a small glass of beet juice daily. Your blood vessels will respond. The second food is leafy green vegetables, particularly spinach, kale, Swiss chard, and arugula. Like beets, these vegetables are extremely high in dietary nitrates that your body converts to blood pressure-lowering nitric oxide. But leafy greens bring additional cardiovascular benefits beyond their nitrate content. They are rich in potassium, one of the most critical minerals for blood pressure regulation. Here is why potassium matters so much. Sodium raises blood pressure by causing your kidneys to retain water, increasing blood volume and therefore pressure. Potassium does the opposite. It signals your kidneys to excrete sodium, reducing fluid volume and lowering pressure. Most Americans consume far too much sodium and far too little potassium, and this imbalance is one of the major drivers of the hypertension epidemic. Leafy greens deliver potassium in amounts that meaningfully shift this balance in the right direction. They also contain magnesium, another mineral that plays a direct role in relaxing blood vessel walls. A single large serving of spinach, for example, provides significant amounts of both potassium and magnesium, along with the nitrates that directly dilate blood vessels. If you are serious about lowering your blood pressure through diet, leafy greens need to be a daily presence on your plate, not an occasional garnish. The third food is berries, particularly blueberries, strawberries, and raspberries. Berries are among the richest dietary sources of compounds called flavonoids, and specifically a subtype called anthocyanins, the pigments that give berries their deep blue, purple, and red colors. These compounds have been shown in multiple large-scale studies to have a direct, protective effect on cardiovascular health. A major study that followed tens of thousands of people over many years found that those with the highest intake of anthocyanin-rich foods had significantly lower rates of hypertension compared to those with the lowest intake. The mechanism involves multiple pathways. Anthocyanins improve the function of the cells lining your blood vessels, reduce arterial stiffness, decrease inflammation in blood vessel walls, and improve the body's production of nitric oxide. One particularly compelling study found that people with high blood pressure who consumed blueberries daily for 8 weeks experienced significant reductions in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure compared to a control group. And beyond their direct cardiovascular effects, berries are one of the lowest sugar fruits available, making them an ideal choice for people who are also managing blood sugar and metabolic health alongside their blood pressure. The fourth food is oats, specifically whole rolled oats or steel-cut oats consumed as a regular part of your diet. The primary cardiovascular benefit of oats comes from a specific type of soluble fiber called beta-glucan. When you consume beta-glucan, it forms a thick gel in your digestive system that has several important effects on cardiovascular health. It reduces the absorption of cholesterol from food, lowering LDL cholesterol levels. It slows the absorption of carbohydrates, reducing blood sugar and insulin spikes that contribute to inflammation and blood pressure elevation. And research has shown that beta-glucan directly contributes to reductions in blood pressure through mechanisms that appear to involve improvements in arterial function and reductions in systemic inflammation. A review of multiple clinical trials found that regular oat consumption produced meaningful reductions in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure, with the greatest effects seen in people who already had elevated blood pressure. Starting your day with a bowl of whole oats, not the instant flavored varieties loaded with added sugar, but real whole oats, is one of the simplest and most evidence-based dietary changes you can make for your blood pressure. The fifth food is garlic. And this is one where the research has been both extensive and impressive. Garlic contains a compound called allicin, which is released when garlic is crushed or chopped and is responsible for both its distinctive smell and a remarkable range of cardiovascular benefits. Allicin has been shown to relax and dilate blood vessels, reduce arterial stiffness, lower LDL cholesterol, and decrease inflammation in blood vessel walls. Multiple clinical trials have evaluated the effect of garlic on blood pressure in people with hypertension, and the results have been consistent enough that a systematic review of the evidence concluded that garlic produces clinically meaningful reductions in blood pressure. For people with high blood pressure, the research suggests that consuming the equivalent of 1 to 2 cloves of fresh garlic daily, incorporated into cooking or consumed directly, can produce measurable cardiovascular benefits over time. The key with garlic is to crush or chop it and let it sit for a few minutes before cooking, which allows the allicin to fully develop before heat exposure. This simple practice maximizes the cardiovascular benefit of one of the most studied and most accessible foods on this list. The sixth food is fatty fish, particularly salmon, mackerel, sardines, and herring, consumed at least twice per week. The cardiovascular benefits of fatty fish are driven primarily by their exceptional content of omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA. These long-chain omega-3 fatty acids have been shown in decades of research to produce a wide range of cardiovascular benefits, reducing triglycerides, decreasing arterial inflammation, improving the flexibility and function of blood vessel walls, and directly lowering blood pressure. A comprehensive analysis of omega-3 research found that regular consumption produced significant reductions in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure, with greater effects in people with existing hypertension. Beyond blood pressure, the omega-3s in fatty fish address multiple cardiovascular risk factors simultaneously. They reduce the tendency of blood to form dangerous clots, lower inflammatory markers associated with arterial disease, and improve the ratio of beneficial HDL to harmful LDL cholesterol. Making fatty fish a regular part of the diet twice or more per week is one of the most comprehensively beneficial dietary changes available for people managing high blood pressure. The seventh food is dark chocolate, and I want to be very specific here because the type of chocolate matters enormously. I am talking about dark chocolate with a cocoa content of 70% or higher, consumed in moderate amounts. Dark chocolate of this type is rich in compounds called cocoa flavonols, which have been shown in multiple clinical trials to produce measurable reductions in blood pressure. The mechanism involves the same nitric oxide pathway we discussed with beets and leafy greens. Cocoa flavonols stimulate the production of nitric oxide in the cells lining your blood vessels, causing them to dilate and reducing blood pressure. A systematic review of clinical trials found that dark chocolate consumption produced significant reductions in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure, with the effects most pronounced in people who already had elevated blood pressure. A small square or two of genuinely high cocoa dark chocolate daily appears to be both sufficient for cardiovascular benefit and manageable as a sustainable daily habit. Milk chocolate or low cocoa varieties do not deliver the same flavonol content. Quality and cocoa percentage matter enormously here. Now I want to bring all of this together in a way that makes practical sense for your daily life. The 7 foods I have described, beets, leafy greens, berries, oats, garlic, fatty fish, and dark chocolate, are not a magic cure for hypertension. They are not a replacement for medication in people whose blood pressure is severely elevated. What they are is a collection of the most evidence-based dietary tools available for supporting healthy blood pressure and protecting your cardiovascular system, tools that work through real, understood biological mechanisms that are widely available and that can be incorporated into a regular diet without dramatic lifestyle disruption. When these foods are combined with other proven lifestyle factors, reducing sodium, maintaining a healthy weight, regular physical activity, stress management, and adequate sleep, the cumulative effect on blood pressure can be genuinely remarkable. There is one final thing I want to address, and it is something I hear constantly. People say they know they should eat better but cannot stick to it. They start making changes and after a few weeks go back to old habits. The reason most dietary changes fail is not a lack of willpower. It is that people try to change everything at once, feel overwhelmed, and revert to what is familiar. Do not try to overhaul your entire diet next week. Instead, choose one food from this list, just one, and commit to incorporating it into your daily routine for the next 30 days. Make it so simple and automatic that it requires almost no decision-making. A handful of berries with your breakfast. A bowl of oats instead of whatever you are currently having. One change, done consistently, for 30 days. By then it will feel normal. Then add the next one. This is how lasting dietary change actually works, not through dramatic overnight transformation, but through the steady accumulation of small, sustainable habits that compound over time into a fundamentally different relationship with food and with your cardiovascular health. Your blood pressure is not a fixed number. It responds to what you eat every single day. Start today. If this video gave you information that will genuinely change what ends up on your plate, please hit the like button and subscribe to William Hart Health, because every single week I am here delivering the honest, research-backed cardiovascular information that could make a real and lasting difference to your health and your life.